proposals. It's a lot on you when you think you know it in school, but they teach you really nothing. And that's the problem. When you're learning and you're trying to bring that into the real world, sometimes you have to take it upon yourself to try your hardest, even when it's not what it comes out as, or it's not the best. You want to make sure you're trying your hardest, but don't expect everything you learn in school to translate into real life, because we didn't learn a lot of things we should have, honestly. And for me, unfortunately, proposals was one of.
And Anthony just got through a hell of a week because for almost 7 days, I think 7 days, 8 days, 10 days. I don't know how many days. How many days right now, Anthony?
I think we're at 7 or 8.
Yeah. So about 7 or 8 days. And the man is struggling here, struggling to put together a proposal. And it is hard, right? Because when you factor in a proposal, some of the things you got to think about all the time is going to be, okay, how often do you articulate the customer's concerns? How often should you make these things huge? How big is it? How small is it? How many words do you need to have? So it's a constant measurement of what's going on. And the funniest thing about it is you have to know exactly the heartbeat of the customer, right, Anthony?
Yeah, it's so true, right? When we're writing this, it's part of telling their story. It's part of telling them who we are as well. There's a mixed bag. We're gonna tell them how we see their brand. We're gonna tell a business, this is how I see you, and this is what I have to offer. And when you don't fully understand how to draft that or how to bring that into a copy to give them as a proposal, in this instance, it becomes very difficult to say, okay, here's what we have for you when it's not fully ready. Well, there's bits and pieces that are missing and should be addressed. I think fully it should be ready when you go to the customer, or don't go to, or you're not ready.
So this week, Anthony has worked on writing his proposals. Now, the proposal is a major part of any growth campaign for growing your business and growing your customers, right? The proposal, that is step one. You meet the customer, you are able to get the courage to meet them, and now you're writing the proposal based on what you hear. Let me ask you this, Anthony. What is the hardest part so far about writing a proposal?
For me, it was knowing how to differentiate, right? Because we're so, in our generation, we have all these things at our disposal to just try and make it easy and just take one idea to put into another. But you also need to know that not every customer is the same. You need to take a different approach to them. And that translates throughout in all aspects of marketing.
So what do you think was, Anthony had about 4 proposals to work on this week, and he gave them all to me to, of course, approve so we can meet with the client and seal the deal. This was his imagination, if I'm not mistaken, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
So you write up these 4 proposals. What was your expectation? Now I'm taking the lead of the host, but what was your expectation in terms of the first proposal that you sent me? What were you thinking is going to be my response to it?
That's okay. We can it's offensive. We're on the same team, so we take the lead. But I fully feel the hardest part for me was honestly understanding what story to tell for them. And fully, I think that's throughout the introduction, how to introduce it to them. And then a bit throughout like the strategies we're giving them, whether it's SEO or, understanding how to give it to them at different points, right? So what kind of will they need, and what kind of maybe website development will they need? We had the blueprint. They gave us what they needed, but it was attention to detail on what a specific client wanted versus what another one wanted, because some need something, some don't. That's just the aspect of it. So it was in strategy and understanding how to give them basic suggestions. And so things like that were kind of hard to put into writing.
So Anthony goes and he writes up his first proposal, and he's like, all right, I got it. I'm done. Here you go. So what I want to hear from Anthony now, because again, this is meant to be a really raw and uncut sort of training for people in marketing and in public relations, right? This is meant to be like training so you can take these lessons, learn from it, and figure it out. So I'm going to ask Anthony a very, very, very challenging question right now. And I want to ask him, you wrote these proposals, you stayed up all night working on them. What went through your mind when you submitted them? What did you expect to be the feedback? Did you expect them to say, hey, this is perfect, this is exactly what I wanted? Or did you think to yourself, oh, you know what? Maybe he'll tell me there's a couple of mistakes. What was in your imagination what was about to happen?
With the last proposal,
No, the first sets, the first 4 that were given.
The first that were given, I saw the template that was given to me, and I almost wanted to just fully like try and make it look exactly like it could as possible. And unfortunately, you end up realizing it's not that easy. You can't just take the template and make it again because you haven't done it before. You're not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was fun. So Anthony is quite shy on this subject, and understandably so. But so what ended up happening, and I think everyone has to know this, is that when you go into this for the first time, you are really not certain of what you're doing. You're really not that sure, right? You're learning, you're going through the different experiences, you're hoping you know what you're doing, but ultimately you're not really sure, right? So the lesson Anthony had to learn, and I hope this was a lesson taught, and I hope I'm not offending you in any way, Anthony, right? But the idea here was this client that we're writing the proposal for is our most important client.
Yeah.
This client, we are trying to help them grow their business. And we're paying so much attention to detail that we want to make sure every experience the customer touches in their business is going to elevate and improve their business. So when Anthony sent me the first proposal, I said, okay, there's some work that needs to be done here. Second proposal was very similar to the first proposal. Third proposal, very similar to the second proposal, very similar to the first proposal. And fourth proposal, very similar to third, second, and first. And what I ended up noticing was that, and no fault of Anthony's per se, but they were really the same proposals rewritten, but really kept the same for the most part. And this is the mistake a lot of people make, is that they try and make every business the same for simplicity. Don't get me wrong. It would be way easier if every business is the exact same business and we could just find and replace on Microsoft Word, this company, for this company, for this company, save, done. This is what most marketing firms are doing. You know what I mean? I think this is pretty much what's going on.
It is. And the unfortunate, one shoe fits all, one size fits all rules doesn't apply in marketing. And then the same is true with when you're approaching them in any aspect, right? Whether it's you want to make them a client or you want to give them video or SEO, whatever you're doing for them. You need to understand that the one size fits all approach just doesn't apply.
And I think this is the biggest obstacle, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but this is your biggest obstacle right now, is figuring out that every business is completely different. Sure, the end result is we want to make money or we want to grow our customers' followers. Sure, the conclusion may be the same, but whether you're a sub shop or a spa or a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer, whatever it is, how you become that, what you want to be, what we envision for our clients, every road is completely different, right?
Yeah, you're gonna carry the weight of the world on your back in marketing, and you have to be able to carry. And if you can't carry, it comes crashing down on you. So you have to be able to know what you're lifting and do the heavy lifting when it comes to writing and everything. If you can't do that, then if the pressure becomes harder, right? That weight becomes harder on. And that's just being very transparent. That's what it is.
So what did you learn, Anthony? Let's review. So you had a couple of days with these proposals. I've rejected almost every single one of them so far. So let me ask you this. What was it that you thought was like the best thing about this experience tomorrow? Because I think your skill set, as much as you may not know, has improved a lot since the first one till now. I think there's a world of difference. But what did you find to be the biggest challenge in writing the proposal? And what was the what you didn't know you had to do and found out that this is actually what you have to do? Like let people know that hasn't written it for the first time, what the experience are.
You're gonna need to know that there's different aspects of it, right? You have a table of contents, and throughout that, you need to know how to speak to the client on each side. The hardest part will be keeping the tone the same, but understanding the different part, because you can't talk to them the same way in the introduction as you do in the conclusion. There'll be aspects, but it won't always be copy paste the same. And then the best part, the thing I think I learned and that I did, like as he said, going from one to the other, is you think that you try to format it better, right? Your sentence structure changes a little bit, but still the tone has to be the same. So the tone was good, but there were some other things that went wrong. So it's understanding you can improve the sentence structure, but you need to make sure your tone is good throughout. Or as he said, you're really just giving the same thing with little minor changes, and you can't help it.
And let me ask you this. In your estimates, the proposal in terms of what you wrote and in terms of what you thought you were going to write, how big of a difference is it?
That's also a world of difference, because when you look at, like, okay, it goes from 8 pages to 10 pages, and it's, you're adjusting the table of contents based on that too, right? You're changing the number of pages by where it starts and where it ends. So it's a lot more to it than just copy paste. You have to make sure you have this page is here. This is where it starts. This is where it ends. The hardest thing was knowing the exact amount of where to start and where to end, I think, for sure.
Now, here's a question. What question do you have for me, Anthony, about writing proposals? Now you got everyone's attention. The whole world is watching. The whole world is listening. You went through so many iterations of writing this bloody thing. What is your challenge? What is the thing you want help with that you haven't been able to ask yet? What do you want to know?
How do you know how to speak to the different clients? So whether it's the introduction, the executive summary, the competitive analysis, because knowing that tone and being able to set the tone, set the parameters on that is extremely crucial when you're writing anything, especially the proposal. Because if you don't know how to do that, then you end up in that kind of box I was in with you're stuck. You're not moving forward, you're not progressing, you're not understanding.
So I would say that it's a great question, to be honest. It's a great question. So the idea here is, and it comes with experience and to an extent, like it comes with a lot of experience, is that you have to really go in the shoe of the business owner. Like you got to be deep in their sneakers. Like you got to be wearing the same underwear, the same socks as they are to really appreciate their struggle. And once you figure out their perspective, then you write to that perspective. You imagine to that perspective, because now you're their friend, right? Initially, when you're writing the proposal, hey, I'm from this marketing firm. We do marketing. We're the best, blah, blah, blah. You flex their muscles. And that's what most people are doing. But the few and the talented and the gifted, I would say, are the people that can really relate to the business owner, really understand their struggles without them saying their struggle, really understand their passion, really see the business for what it is. And whether it's 3 people in an office or 100 people organization or 1,000 people organization or a multinational company, there are struggles. They want something. They want their customers to acknowledge something. And if you can figure that out, that's what sets the tone. That's what makes that proposal easy. That's what makes working so much easier, because now you understand the business. You're not just going at it as, okay, they want marketing, they want SEO, they want a website, they want videos. No. You're growing their business. And the minute you start growing their business and understanding their pain is the minute you can actually be understanding and really write their tone. So that's kind of how I do it, Anthony. I literally go, this is a funny soundbite, but I literally go inside their underwear, figure out what it is to be them, and then go that way.
Well, I've been doing right. Kind of the notice has been recently with writing this and how, you don't want to fall behind. You have to keep up, right? Life is a marathon, not a race. So one step at a time.
One step at a time. Absolutely. Now, I will say that, for everyone else that's listening right now, you're wondering, okay, well, what business advice do you have or what tips are there? So I'm going to ask Anthony actually for the first time to give his, because he's been working with us for a couple of weeks now. So I want Anthony to actually share with you his tips or his advice that he's learned so far with helping to draft this business proposal or this business plan for his clients. So Anthony, tell the fine people listening to now, what are these moments and these points here?
The top 5 I'll give you. Number 1 will be time management, right? You have to know, do one at a time, before 4 proposals deep, you're late. So don't be late to your own party with that one, because these are your clients, they're waiting. Number 2 would be, if you don't know, ask, right? If you see something, say something, I love this, or I need to address that issue. 3 would be, make sure you understand the client. You're speaking to them. Go back and make sure everything's right. Check your grammar, make sure the spelling's right, because this is professional. We're talking professional, and everything has to be done at the core and the best of your ability still. And the best of your ability is making sure the grammar is right. And then the last thing, the thing for me that I think is very important too, that I was missing a little bit, again, is sentence structure. It took a while to get, right? You need to make sure you're not putting a paragraph is like a book, right? They're not needing a chapter. So you need to make sure your sentence structure, just the format. I guess number probably just be the format needs to be right. So format and grammar would be 4 and 5.
Now, let me ask one last humble question on this subject, and then you can lead it however you want. But how many times, and putting them on the spot, guys, how many times did you actually read over your proposals post writing them? So you write it, but how many times do you actually read it over is going to be my question.
We're 6, 7 drafts in. I would say after each time, probably 3 or 4 times at least before sending. And some of them were than others. So like the last ones, I thought it was an easier cleanup. So honestly, as I thought I got the hang of it more, it would be maybe once or twice. And it started as 3 or 4 times, and you start doing it a little bit less because you think you're more confident.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something I've always struggled with, even me myself personally, is how many times should you read over a document? And my humble opinion, and you know, take it or leave it, is not only do you have to read it 4 or 5 times over, you always have to let someone else read it one more time, because your eyes are so used to what you think you wrote versus what you've actually wrote. So your body will trick you. Your eyes will trick you. Your everything will trick you because you're so biased what you wrote. You're sometimes not able to actually read the words on the paper because you just remember what you wrote. So I always will read it once, read it twice, maybe a bit thrice, pass it to someone else to read, let them give me the feedback, and then hopefully I've caught everything. But I no longer rely on myself or anything because I read what I think versus what I wrote half the time.
And that's the truth of it, right? You have to speak to your strengths, and if you don't do that, you end up slipping. And when what your strengths aren't, it's like a relationship, right? If where I'm not good in my partner compliments, right? The same applies in a work relationship, because in a working relationship, if I don't know something, I should go seek assistance.
Yeah, that's solid advice. All right. Anything else, Anthony, you would like to share or you want to end on? These are your sessions. Somehow I became the host today. I'm not sure how, but I want you to host back again. You need to take the fail.
I know what happened. The lack of awareness for the situation, for this is what happened. The lack of knowing the direction to go with these proposals is, I think, why you took that a little bit of a lead there. And for me, I would just say, make sure everything you're doing, you do proper. We're professionals, we're adults, own up to your mistakes, ask for assistance when you don't know what to do. And you could always learn what to do. So we always learn. That would be
on circuits. It's our sessions. Yeah. All right.
so maybe we'll do it.
Yeah, just redo that part.
Redo the end.
Redo the end. Yeah, redo the end. Go ahead.
What was it? Just I lost. Leave it alone.
So I really felt Anthony is meant to be the host of this thing, guys. But today, because of the actual stress and trauma Anthony's experiencing writing these proposals, it's super crazy. He's a little bit shy today, but we're gonna work through that. He's gonna be, better than ever. But just one last thing I do for everyone, just to share with you, is just that your overall feedback about writing these proposals, what you found was important. If you could give anybody like a last minute advice for these proposals, what would you say?
And speak to your strengths. And if you don't know the answer, ask for assistance, because it's better to know what to do than not know what to do and just guess. Never just guess. Sometimes you really should know what you're getting into. If you're walking into a dark cave and since you've already made a mistake, you should walk back out and get some guidance on that. Never be in the dark. If you're in the dark, it's going to come out.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right, everybody. That's a wrap for today. We did, it's one of the more boring episodes for sure, because it's about writing proposals. And I think Anthony would agree that that's some of the boring part of the job, but a necessary evil, of course, a necessary evil. So we will end this episode today, and then we'll get another episode for you guys next week. Have a great day, guys.